I always considered myself a loyal wife. I loved my husband, our life together, and the intimacy we shared. But that all changed when I met him. I was in the midst of organizing a charity gala, and he was one of the major donors. From the moment we met, there was an undeniable chemistry between us. He was handsome, successful, and charming in a way that made my heart race every time he looked at me. As we worked together to plan the event, our connection only grew stronger. We would spend hours on the phone discussing details, but somehow it always ended with us talking about our hopes and dreams, or sharing our deepest fears. It was as if we had known each other for years instead of just a few weeks. With every conversation, I found myself falling deeper and deeper into his spell. My thoughts were consumed by him, his smile, his touch, his intoxicating scent. And as much as I tried to fight it, I couldn't deny the overwhelming desire I felt whenever he was near. But I wasn't just torn between my personal desires and my commitment to my husband. I was also torn between my personal desires and my commitment to the charity gala. The event was only a few weeks away, and there was still so much work to be done. Every time I saw him, it took all of my willpower to focus on the task at hand instead of getting lost in his embrace. But even when we managed to keep things professional, there was an electricity in the air that made it impossible to ignore the growing tension between us. One night, after a particularly intense planning session, he walked me to my car. As we said our goodbyes, he pulled me into a tight hug that sent shivers down my spine. When he finally let go, our eyes locked for what felt like an eternity, before he leaned in and kissed me softly on the lips. In that moment, all of my inhibitions melted away. I kissed him back with a passion I had never felt before, losing myself in the heat of our embrace. It was as if the world around us ceased to exist, and there was only the two of us, consumed by our desire for one another. But as quickly as it had started, it was over. We pulled away from each other, both breathless and full of unspoken emotions. He looked at me with a mix of longing and regret before he turned and walked away, leaving me standing there in a daze. I sat in my car for what felt like hours, trying to make sense of what had just happened. I knew that I should feel guilty after all. I was a married woman, but all I could think about was how alive he made me feel. In that moment, I made a choice. I chose to follow my heart, instead of my head, and pursue this undeniable connection we shared. Little did I know the consequences that would come from that decision. As much as I loved my husband and our life together, there was something about him that awakened a part of me long forgotten. And now there was no turning back.